Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Our today's topic is brain. We were doing central nervous system, and its first part is brain. So first of all, we will talk about the basic organization of human brain, in which we will talk about different structures which are present in the nervous system. So here is the nervous system, which consists of central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system contains spinal cord and the brain, whereas the peripheral nervous system contains the somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system, which further has different branches. For example, peripheral nervous system contains the motor neurons and sensory neurons. Motor neurons in turn contain somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is finally divided up into sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. So the architecture of brain and the spinal cord and their functions is that CNS consists of brain and spinal cord. Both brain and spinal cord are hollow structures. Brain has cavities which are called ventricles, and it is filled by a fluid that is called cerebrospinal fluid. How the central nervous system and its organs are protected? They are protected basically in three ways. First is the cranium box. It is the part of the skull which protects the brain. Then comes the vertebral column that protects the spinal cord, and meninges, the layers beneath the cranium that protects the brain and the spinal cord. Okay, now coming up to the topic, that is brain. So human brain is the organ of soft nervous tissues which is contained in the skull of vertebrates, functioning as the coordinating center of the body. It means the function of the brain is to coordinate different organs to perform different activities as a response of different stimuli. If we talk about the parts of the brain or the divisions, it has been divided up into three main parts: the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. You can see all the parts in this diagram. Forebrain is the major part of your brain, which has been shown here with the orange color. Then comes the midbrain, which is a small part and is denoted by the green color here. And then comes the hindbrain that will continue up to the spinal cord, and it is shown here with the pink color. Now the forebrain has further three divisions, and it is divided up into three functional parts: cerebrum, thalamus, and limbic system. We will talk about them one by one. First of all, cerebrum is the major part of your forebrain, and it is divided up into two halves which are called the cerebral hemispheres. They are connected to one another through a membrane called the corpus callosum. both the cerebral hemispheres controls the parts of the body. For example, right cerebral hemisphere will control the left side of the body, and the left cerebral hemisphere controls the right side of the body. Cerebral cortex is the outer region of the cerebrum. So the fissures that you can see in the cerebrum increases the surface area, and it shows the intelligence of the person, as the forebrain or cerebrum part is larger in people. It is shown through these studies that the persons who have maximum part of the cerebrum are more intelligent. Then comes the thalamus. It is located above the brain stem and between the cerebral cortex and midbrain. Now you can see in the diagram, the thalamus has been spotted. It is basically the relay center which carries the sensory information to the limbic system and to the cerebrum. So information is taken by sensory neurons from auditory and visual pathways, from the skin and within the body. Thalamus is present below the cerebrum. It receives all the impulses except the smell impulse, and channels them to the limbic system and to appropriate regions of the cortex for interpretation. Then comes the limbic system. It is an arc-shaped structure between the thalamus and the cerebrum. The limbic system extends through several brain regions, and it works together to produce our most basic and primitive emotions, drives, and behaviors. For example, it controls the responses like hunger, fear, thirst, anger, and the sexual responses. There are different parts of the limbic system, which includes hypothalamus, amygdala, and hippocampus, and the nearby regions of the cerebrum. The role of limbic system, if we talk about it, the hypothalamus is present on the ventral side of the thalamus. The hypothalamus, through its hormones, produce its work is the production and the neural connections, which acts as a major coordinating center, which controls the pituitary gland and thereby serves as a link between the nervous and the endocrine system. It also maintains homeostasis, and it controls the menstrual cycle, that is a monthly cycle observed in females, body temperature, and blood pressure. Amygdala. These are two almond-shaped masses of neurons on either side of the thalamus at the lower end of the hippocampus. It is basically the cluster of neurons which produce sensation of pleasure, punishment, love, hate, or sexual arousal when stimulated. It is also involved in the feelings of fear and rage. Hippocampus consists of two horns that curve back from the amygdala, and it plays an important role in the information and in converting things that are in your mind at the moment. For example, it controls your short term memory and changes them into the long term memory. Midbrain, it is reduced in humans and it has the following functions. First of all, it acts as a relay center which handed over the information from the sensory neurons to the motor neurons, and then finally to the effectors. Midbrain contains the reticular formation. Reticular formation is very important in screening the input information before it reaches the higher centers of the brain. It also contains the auditory relay centers. The function of the midbrain is to control the reflex movements of the eyes basically. It is located below the cerebral cortex and above the hindbrain. Now coming up to the hindbrain, the parts of the hindbrain includes medulla oblongata, pons and cerebellum. Medulla oblongata controls several autonomic functions such as heart rate, the breathing mechanism, blood pressure and swallowing. All these are the involuntary functions. Pons is a structure which is located above the medulla and it acts as a bridge between the cerebellum, medulla and cerebrum. Its functions are as follows. Like it controls the rate and pattern of heartbeat. It also involves the rate and pattern of breathing, and it also controls the sleep and wakefulness. Cerebellum basically coordinates the body movements and maintains body position, that is equilibrium. Therefore, smooth and accurate motions are possible, such as walking, running, riding, etc. It is also involved in the learning and memory storage for behaviors, and it is best developed in birds which are engaged in complex activities of flight. So this was all about today. Thank you very much.